and a bit less for us here in Finland, but nevertheless, it's time for us to start. As introduced in the previous session and in the beginning of today, it is now time to turn for the perspectives of the stakeholders who have been involved in the work of the International Forum, which work both Tiina was presenting yesterday, and then this morning Teemu Kokko was reflecting even further. And we have here 4 people with us today who has promised to share their points of view, and some of these people have been involved both in the first and the second forum. Some have been or are working in responsible positions in the subgroups. So this will be for sure an interesting combination of presentations. We will first have in this session Pipa Turvanen. She is working as a senior specialist in the Ministry of Economic Affairs and Employment. And following Pipa, we will have Sanna Marttinen, who is the executive director of the cooperation body of 10 Finnish government research institutes, called in Finnish the Tulanet, or in short. Then we have a representative of the students who play a really important role in developing the higher education system as a whole in Finland. And we have Annina Sippola from the University of Applied Science students in Finland, SAMOK, telling how the students have been involved in the work of the International Forum and building up and implementing the policies as well. And then we have Anu Härkönen, and she works as a head of international affairs in Turku University of Applied Sciences. And Anu's role in the work of the forum especially has been to operate as a representative of the heads of international affairs of universities of applied sciences, called the PINNET network in Finnish. And she will tell about this type of work and how she has been representing the whole of the network in the forum. And we were thinking that we will take questions after each presentation, and if there is still time remaining at the end, we can have a bit of a discussion, but nevertheless, this is the way to proceed. So we will let Pipa Turvanen start, and then after Pipa's presentations, you will have a possibility to ask questions to her. But now off to Pipa. You're welcome. And for now, at least, yes, good. Now your mic is open.
Yes, thank you very much, Chair. I will start my presentation. Yes, so you can see it already, which is nice. So we can get going. Yes. So very, very good morning, afternoon to everyone. As introduced, my name is Pipa Turvanen, and I work at the Ministry of Economic Affairs and Employment in the Labour Migration and Integration Unit. Very excited to join this workshop. Thank you so much again for having me. Aim of this presentation is to showcase interlinkages between internationalization of higher education and research, country branding, and talent attraction and retention, and shortly going through the end of the presentation. Hopefully, we can find the sort of red line connecting these circles. Main focus is, of course, in the inclusion of stakeholders. But before moving on to that one, I would like to tell you a few words about international talent attraction In Finland, maybe my presentation, due to my background, is more focused on this topic. You have already in the previous presentations heard a lot about the goals in internationalization of higher education institutions and research. And hopefully this perspective will add up to that. And as already said before, in the end, I will try to kind of connect these all perspectives and the circles from the previous slide together. So developing a workforce fit for a modern knowledge economy has become a strategic goal for governments worldwide, and this of course applies also to Finland. Finland has designed a policy program to attract skilled workers, experts, students and researchers, and also startup entrepreneurs. And this policy program is called Talent Boost. Finland as a northern and yes, also remote country is obviously not is not a node for global talent flows, and for that reason, in order to secure sufficient labor force, especially for the high-tech companies, Finland has to become better known and more attractive destination to international talents. Finland has also quite a lot of untapped potential in the Finnish expats, and they are included in the Talent Boost program. And at the same time, while trying to make Finland more attractive, we need to focus on diversity in the working life. Companies, big and small, are reported in Finland to be very slow in internationalization of their culture and staff, despite their obvious need for international talent. And then maybe from a slightly different point of view, we also often hear stories of international talent who has moved to Finland, who has had to step down in a sort of a career ladder in order to find his or her way in the Finnish working life. And this is something that we want to improve as well. And well, this of course requires a lot of things, among other things, a lot of communication towards companies, other employers, and because the fact is that they do not yet possess enough information about services that are already available for recruitment of international talent. But now moving on to more to the focus of this session and this presentation. Not sure if you follow international talent attraction and retention scheme, but for us in Finland, we do not possess a long track record and tradition in international talent attraction and retention activities. Historically, Finland has been a country from where you move out in order to pursue a career internationally. But as already said, now we have started measures to attract and retain talent, and now we come to the stakeholder involvement. In the very core of this work is the multi-level and cross-sectoral collaboration. And it is very important in order to be able to talk about ecosystem-based work that we take the fragmentation into consideration. We need to be able to overcome sort of scatteration of projects. We have to be able to create value that is larger than the sum of its parts. And in addition, we need to help to create conditions for sustainable and long-term work. And this, of course, also and to largest extent applies to the stakeholder involvement. it's not always easy to involve stakeholders from various policy sectors, from various different levels of governance, and this is something where you have to put a lot of effort, and you have to have it as a focus of your development work. And of course, besides taking into consideration different policy sectors involving them, including organizations, also individuals from different levels of governance. Of course, in everything that we do, whether it's about attracting or more on the retention side, we are very dependent on the country brand. Finland and the country brand is of course essential also to higher education and research policies, and in general, Finland has a rather good country brand. You can say that it's even a strong one. But when it comes to international talent attraction and retention, we are not doing as well. And of course, since aim to support internationalization of higher education and research is connected to the international talent attraction and retention. Nowadays, we work very closely with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in the context of country branding. Of course, when it comes to international talent attraction and retention, the country brand that we have created and we are constantly developing in order to make Finland better known and more attractive in this perspective. This of course very much relies on the country brand, but has its own unique and of course it needs to uniqueness, and it also of course needs to take into account the core target group. And of course, when you go further, you need to understand the segmentation of different target groups in the context of international talent attraction and retention. But whether it's about making Finnish higher education institutions and our research ecosystems more international, or whether it's about attracting and retaining international talent, the fact that we are the happiest country in the world gives us a good sort of baseline for the work that we are doing from country branding perspective. And of course, this is also a huge asset in attracting international students, among other Talent Boost target groups. And these interlinkages that I have shortly described to you in the earlier slides, they come together in one of the subgroups of International Forum. We have a country branding subgroup where I am honored to be one of the co-chairs, and assignment for this group is to draw up a report on how to link higher education, research, and innovation activities to our country branding work, both to that of the general country brand, but of course taking into account the Talent Boost country brand as such. And also within the assignment of this subgroup, we have the Code of Conduct survey that we are conducting at the moment, and to even further enlarge the perspective on stakeholder involvement, we are also supposed to draft proposals for sort of Friends of Finland concept, which refers to a global network bringing together and engaging people from various people who are from very various reasons engaged with Finland, want to support internationalization of Finland, want to be part of the cultural life regardless to where their residence is, and so forth. And then also one of the development needs within this context is to look closely to the international alumni networks of higher education institutions, and see the connections between the larger sort of so-called Friends of Finland program, and of course to the talent boost work as a whole. And we have started the work late last year, and we are moving on slowly but steadily. And first results of the subgroup will be released later this year. Thank you very much for your time. This was my presentation, and look forward to hearing your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pippa, for this very good introduction to the both to the topical issues when it comes to talent boost, but also to the subgroup when it comes to these mentioned matters. I think we can have questions both written in the chat, but also we are welcoming you to just raise up your hands and ask any questions to Pippa.
Can I ask a question?
Of course, welcome.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned country branding, and I think that's a very interesting concept. I mean, in Georgia, we know country branding for tourism purposes. So we are branding the country to put it on the touristic map, let's say. When you are doing this job, did you hire a special agency who is doing it? I mean, at the practical level, so you were just giving hints of what kind of messages should be there, or it was done by the university, so how it was done practically? Thank you.
Thank you. That was a very, very good question. Of course, country brand work and also making Finland better known to as a business environment, for example, in investment promotion perspective, or attracting, or then in attracting tourists to Finland for tourism purposes. Of course, this work has a longer history than that of international talent attraction and retention. So we only started country branding work from the perspective of international talent attraction and retention in 2018. And before that, there had been projects including country branding work from this perspective already before, but the projects were sort of the measures were sort of project based, and often carried out by individual cities or regions, or then for example university consortiums. But before 2018, we didn't really have a country brand for international talent attraction and retention at all. And the assignment to develop the country brand from this perspective was given to Business Finland. And firstly, the focus was solely on experts and startup entrepreneurs. During this governmental season, the Talent Boost program has enlarged, and now it includes also students and researchers, and also so-called blue-collar workers. And for this reason, we have brought different organizations, government organizations, closer together in order to improve and also enforce the country branding. So, for example, Business Finland and the Working Finland and Study in Finland organizations conducting Working Finland work and then Study in Finland work are nowadays working very closely together. But of course, there was an agency involved in the beginning, and in the operational work, there are of course different partners involved all the time. I used to work in a regional level before I came to the ministry, and there it was the same thing, that we kind of we took some kind of framework from the National Talent Boost country brand, and then we added in local local perspective, and we did that work also together with various partners, both from public and private, and then of course the commercial agencies were involved as well.
Thank you, Pippa. That was a very good answer, and
Thank
I
you very
believe
much.
yeah, when it comes to these issues and to the Talent Boost program, that could be probably a topic of a whole session, if not the workshop itself. But if there's still one more pressing question to Pippa, we could take one more. In case not, as it seems, then we warmly thank Pippa, and we know that you will need to leave before the end of the session. So thank you very much for taking part in this session and sharing these insights from your field.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And then next on, we move to Sanna Marttinen, who, as said earlier, comes from the cooperation body of the Finnish Government Research Institutes. So Sanna, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Sofia. Now I try to share my slides. Just a moment.
There it is, and it's...
Can you see the slides now?
Yeah, it's visible. It's not in the presentation mode, but it's quite clear nevertheless. But
I think I keep it this mode because I have had problems if I change it to presentation mode. Hope you can see it well enough.
Very well.
Okay. Hello, everyone. As introduced, my name is Sanna, and I come from Tulonet, and I'm here to tell you how research institutes have participated on Forum for Internationalization in Finnish Education and Research. At first, with a few words, who we are. We have 12 governmental research institutes in Finland with a total of 9,000 person-years of employment. Every research institute has its own area of expertise on which it provides scientific research and has also various expert and statutory tasks. We don't give higher education, but we can give some professional training, also in international context. For example, for training for laboratory experts. Regarding scientific research, we could say that 1/4 of scientific research is conducted in research institutes and 3/4 in universities in Finland. So we are quite big players in research field. Tulanet, where I come from, is a cooperation body of 10 biggest research institutes. I'm not personally expert in international issues, but my task is to promote cooperation within the research institutes and with their stakeholders. Now I lost my slides. Okay, here they are. Okay, let's move on and look at how we have participated in the forum. Here you can see the figure, and if you look at the light blue boxes, they show the continuum of competence from higher education via research to expert work, which brings the research results into practice. For example, for companies or citizens or decision making. This continuum is a Finnish strength, at least that's how I see it. And our idea in research institutes has been that it is this continuum which internationalization should be promoted, not internationalization of sector by sector. Next, I try to show what kind of challenges we have had when we have tried to promote that idea. First, you need to understand that in universities in Finland, higher education and research goes hand in hand, while in research institutes, research and expert work are linked. In research sector, universities and research institutes cooperate a lot. We have also different positions in Finnish administration. Universities operate within the Ministry of Education and Culture's administrative branch, while research institutes are steered by sectoral ministries. So the challenge number one was, if you talk about the forum, the challenge was that governmental research institutes were not involved in preparation phase of the forum. And that's why international dimension of our expert work was not considered. We have brought our view to the table later, and we have got a positive reception, but it is not in the name of the forum, and it means a lot. Well, challenge number two is that the majority of forum participants come from the education sector. Thus, research and expert work gets less attention in discussion. We can also ask if this is the right forum for internationalization of research. Perhaps not, because research is already international and have its own forums. But research is important to consider because it links the education and expert work, and both are based on research. So the challenge is to find persons who knows all these sectors well enough and can see the links between them and can see how they can make use of each others. Challenge number three was very practical. We noticed that the same word can mean different things for people with different backgrounds. For example, capacity building. I have noticed that if you come from education side, it means something, and if you come from research institute side, it means something else. But this must be taken as a learning process. So we have had challenges, but we have seen this forum as an important network to be involved. Now I shortly describe how we have organized the participation of research institutes. As I told you, Tulanet represents 10 governmental research institutes working in different sectors, or different fields of expertise. In the forum, Tulanet has 1 member and 1 deputy member. So we had to choose between 2 options, what kind of member we have in this forum. Either the member would be an expert in international issues, but from one field of expertise, or the member is not an expert in international issues, but motivated to promote cooperation. And we chose this latter. So I'm the member who represents research institutes in the forum. In practice, I have put the international experts from several research institutes together, and they form my supporting group. Before the important forum meetings, I organize a preparatory meeting where we compile together with our experts our views and form collective key messages, which I try to promote in the forum. And I think this has been a pretty good way to work. The work of forum is underway, but I would say that so far the forum has managed to bring together people working in different sectors and increased understanding between them. And this is an important achievement, I think, because it is the first step on the way of thinking the internationalization of the whole chain, from higher education to research and expert work. And I think that if we combine our competence, we can be bigger players internationally and tackle more complex challenges. I hope I haven't sounded too critical, because I really see the forum as an important network where we all can increase our understanding from other sectors and increase our possibilities to internationalize ourselves. You must also remember that this was mainly my personal perspective. And as I said, we have had challenges, but I see that this is a learning process. And I believe that the work of forum will open possibilities for new forms of cooperation and really improve our chances to operate internationally. These were the main points I wanted to say in this short time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sanna. And at least to me, it did not sound at all too critical, but very realistically brought out these challenges that you have faced in the work, but also with a positive angle, of course. This surely must be a learning process, and perhaps more so for some stakeholders in the work of the forum than others, depending on where they come from. But now there would be a good chance to ask questions related to this presentation and to Sanna, in case you have any. Liika, you have your camera open, so perhaps you want to ask.
Yeah, I'm sorry, because I really don't like typing, etc. So thank you very much for your presentation. I have rather a different question, which is about impact of pandemic on research work right now. So, I mean, we know that certain research projects really require presence in laboratories, but you also can have research projects where you can do work from home. And then in that case, the physical presence in the city, at the university, and not even in the country is really required. So are you thinking or rethinking your internationalization strategy in research work, considering this pandemic impact, so that you may accept, let's say, this kind of networks of researchers who are not physically in the country, but they are doing, let's say, the Finnish project? Or do you have any kind of projects in this direction? Thank you.
Yes, we've been discussing about this issue, and we think that we should more utilize the digital possibilities. It would be great if we could develop some platforms, digital platforms, where we could more cooperate with our international partners. Without, of course, we need to be present and meet face to face, but I think we must utilize more this digital platforms in the future. I can't say if we have a real strategy yet, but this being discussed.
Yeah, because we heard there's a talent boost and you really try to attract people to country and retain them. But now this new reality is changing the game rules. So, and maybe you have some kind of new projects in this direction.
Yeah, I can't say if you have clear projects, but I think all international projects have had to think this at this moment. And all these Teams meetings and webinars and other virtual meetings have increased in every project. That's sure.
Thank you, Sanna, and also Liika for the question. Are there any other questions currently? If not, then we thank Sanna. Thank you so much for bringing these insights and your point of view and your network's point of view, Tulanet's point of view to this topic. And we move on. And wasn't it so, Sanna, that you are still for a while here with us before you need to leave? Or
I think I have to step right away to the next meeting.
Right. In that case, but even more so, a very warm thank you for being present and for your presentation. And we will get back to you later on and move and see you in the work of the forum. And we welcome at this point, of course, in case you Georgian guests have some questions even afterwards, you can then via Liika provide them to us Finns, and then we can also definitely contact speakers like Sanna with these questions afterwards as well. But at this point, thank you very much, Sanna, for your presentation.
Thanks for having me, and have a nice meeting. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. All right, and then we move on, and now it's time to hear the student perspective to the whole topic of internationalization of higher education, and especially when it comes to the organization and the work in the international forum. And we have here already with the camera open Anniina Sippola, representing the University of Applied Sciences students in Finland. So Annika, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Firstly, it's an honor to be here to talk to you about the work of the forum in Finland. Unlike my colleagues, I don't have a presentation. I will only be speaking to you, and I hope this still works for you well enough. As said, my name is Anniina. I'm a higher education policy advisor in SAMOK, the Union of UAS students in Finland. And we at SAMOK work to make the education in Finland and the society in whole better for the students. And we work together with our sister organization, SYL, which represents the students in universities in Finland. So there are two organizations and two different kind of higher education organizations here. And we both have representatives in the forum, and I have had the opportunity to be a member of the forum since the beginning of the first forum a few years back, representing the students in University of Applied Sciences. And the student movement in Finland in general is quite active, very well represented, all sorts of forums and teams and work groups within the higher education in Finland, and we are quite proud of our work and our role in developing the higher education in Finland. Internationalization of education is also a very important theme for the students, and we believe that everyone should get some international competences during their studies, despite of what the study field is. And that it includes going to abroad as an exchange student, but for a lot of students, it means getting these competencies studying here in Finland and not going abroad. This we have found that this is a common goal for all of the stakeholders in the forum, and obviously we are quite happy to share this with everyone else. For us in SAMOK, it's important to understand different students, and we try to make sure that despite the background of the student or the situation in life that they are in during their studies, it doesn't stop them from getting these international competencies during their studies. For example, almost or about 1 of 4 students in the University of Applied Sciences have children already, and that might for some make it difficult to go abroad as an exchange student, and we try to make sure that in the forum and also in SAMOK try to make sure that still they can get the international experience somehow. And this information about different students and their life situations and the needs that they might have to get the international experience is, I think, what we can bring to the forum, and of course also the solutions, how we can work around these challenges, so that the international experience can be found in every student's path in the higher education. Another important goal in this forum and in international education in general is that we can help the international students to be integrated in the society and in the community of the higher education as well as possible. And we believe that this is actually a key factor when it comes to helping Finnish students get the experience of international competencies, and also obviously it is a big impact on how many international students stay here in Finland and how well they can then get to work in the work life in Finland and so on and so on. And these both goals we feel is something that we share within the forum, and we find that these common goals and cooperation is the like one of the strongest things that we have when it comes to developing higher education in general, but also international affairs. And going more focusing on the work of the forum, I think that in its simplicity, the best part of having the forum for these things is that it gives us a forum to discuss these topics together and find common ground and find understanding of if there are differences in the goals or more maybe differences in how to go forward to implementing or getting onward to gaining the goal that we have. And the way that the forum is working has been working. It has given us the possibility to get more information about the internationalization of higher education in general, more information about the point of views of other stakeholders, and then find together solutions on how to develop these things within the communities of higher education. So sharing information is one of the good things that we have working very well here, and also that we can find each other. It's a place where all the people who are interested in internationalization are coming together, and we can work together instead of working separately on our different fields of work, like we heard now about from the previous speakers as well. Internationalization of education, I find, is, well, I suppose it comes to everything about higher education, but especially internationalization. And it's not just about policies, and it's not about changing the law. It's also that, but it's not just that. And it has a lot to do with how we work in the communities and how we develop these communities so that it would be easier for international students to be part of those communities, and also for the staff members, international staff members, to be part of those communities. And that's why I believe that this forum is a good tool to going forward with our goals. Since we, outside of the forum, we have good speaking terms with parliament members and officials in the ministry, but this forum gives us a place to talk with the members of these different communities, and we can find best practices. We don't have to find these best practices in every higher education community themselves, but we can share them here and also find new ones together. And when we find common ground and common ways to work with these developments in the forum, it also helps us to find common ground in the communities where the students are working with the staff members to make or develop that community to be more international. And I think these like working together and making concrete changes and concrete practices that we can then implement in the higher education institutions is something that this forum is great for, instead of just making new policies and new goals on the general level in Finland. So do you think that these things mostly are done in the institutions instead of in the policies? The challenges that we have found in the forum is that we have quite a lot of goals when it comes to internationalization of higher education, and the amount of goals, I think it's in some ways it's a good thing, because it tells us as a nation that internationalization is very important to us, and we want to make a lot of changes so that this society and our higher education would be more international in the future. But when it comes to working in the forum, we have found it difficult to have time to work with all the different aspects of internationalization, and obviously then we have to focus on some, like mentioned above, the integration of international students, and then finding ways for all the students to have international competencies. So we have made priorities, but still we find that a lot of the subgroups that we have in the forum are very interesting to us as students, and this challenges us to how to work with all the topics that we want to work with. And also, of course, it is, I think, difficult to the forum's work in general, not just for us as students to have all these different goals at once. But as I said, it's a good thing as well. So, and of course, when we are working in such a huge group of people, it's also challenging that there are very different priorities for different groups and different perspectives in different groups. But I find that also when we talk about these, when we share these different views, then we can still find some common ground instead of just disagreeing on the topics. I would like to end with some tips. Since I'm representing students here, I do find that I need to point out the importance of working with students on these topics. I think that the cooperation and going forward and developing, especially the community in higher education, it's easier when you have students involved in all the aspects of the work from the beginning, in the decision-making tables, and then implementing those in the communities. That way, the students can understand what it is that we are doing, and there are no misunderstandings about what are the steps to make and why are we making these steps. And we don't think that there is any specific student things that you should be involving students in. We believe that students should be involved in all the things that somehow are connected to higher education, so that we can get the big picture and be part of the development in general, in all the aspects, not just things that would be think that they are like very, very closely in the students' normal life in the studies. I would like to ask you to trust your students, that they can be part of these changes and they are brilliant, because obviously your higher education and our higher education is so brilliant that the students studying there have to be brilliant as well, and they have the capacity to be part of these sort of changes and developments in whole. The involvement of students, I believe, is one of the key factors in the success story that we call the Finnish education system. And here we are trusted and we are equal partners when it comes to developing education and society in general, in all perspectives. Yes, so the involvement of students is almost like a no-brainer for us. I believe that I just can't underline this point enough on how important it is for the success of internationalization of higher education. I hope that these points give you some perspective on the work of the forum from our perspective, and I am happy to answer any questions that you might have now.
Thank you very much, Anniina. This was a very, very good speech, perhaps one could say, on the students' role and importance in decision making of higher education institutions, as well as the development work when it comes to higher education. And I think you very nicely portrayed the picture of the role of the students in Finland, in Finnish higher education. But now it would be time for questions from our guests. Are there any for Anniina? Liika, please go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much. But I mean, my question is not specifically about this process you were involved with, but in general about student activities in Finland. Because I have to say that students are significantly less active in Georgia. So is it a cultural thing? So what makes students so active? Is it kind of positive experience that whatever problems you are pointing at, they are getting solved and you are assured to your strengths and of your impact? So what makes students so active in Finland? I mean, if you get my question, because I'm always taking comparisons, so and somehow want to understand why students in Georgia are not so very active. And sometimes when we ask them, they say that their activity doesn't make sense because they cannot make any impact. So is that different in Finland? Maybe you can elaborate a bit about it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. It's a very important and very close to my heart, this topic. I believe that it's somewhat a cultural thing, but it's a culture that can be built. So it's not like that it has something to do with the way we are in Finland, but I think we can have it in everywhere. But it does have a lot to do with the understanding, or the that you have this idea that when you participate in a work group, or if you give feedback on education, or whatever involvement you might have in whether it is in the national level with the parliament or ministry or these sort of working groups, or in the society or in the community of higher education institutions, that when you make some sort of statement or say something or like that, you feel that you are heard and that it does have an impact. So I think that sometimes students feel that they are like in the opposition. So they can shout out as loud as they might, but it has no impact on the things that are actually going on. And of course, if you feel like that whatever you say doesn't matter, then you might feel that there's no point saying anything at all, or then you just shout out with no concrete solutions for the problems, but you only shout out the problems. Obviously, it helps that we have quite good resources to have organizations around the students, that within the students are active members and participating in the decision making. I think something to do with the resources as well, but you have to make note that there is a small group of students that are very active. And not all of them are active in everything. They might be active in other fields of life, but not in this sort of field. But there are enough active students to make out the points, and that they represent the sound and the voice of students in the institutions.
Yeah, that was well, but I think it was a good answer, and I think one thing that supports very nicely the involvement of students is really like that the higher education institutions, they have these mechanisms of inviting students in at any level. So this has a long history. So I remember being a second-year student and being involved in the faculty activities, actually, especially for internationalization. And this was really kind of a clear announcement that the faculty and the department level wanted students to be involved in certain bodies and taking part in the development work. So it really has been made very kind of open also when it comes to these possibilities. So that I would say Anni knows better, but I would say that they are really, the way to operate is very open, so that even though it is probably so that only a small portion of students is active, but the majority of students probably knows about these activities and possibilities quite well.
Yes, and I think one of the important things is that we are taken very seriously. So when we say something, whether it is us in Samok or the student unions locally, it is taken seriously, and not just like one student's opinion, but the opinion of the lot.
Indeed. There is something that Kenneth wants to address, please.
Yes, thank you. We have also to remember that the status of the students and the student unions are stated in the university law and the law of the University of Applied Sciences, and they have a certain role in the different steering organs and they are part of the decision-making process of each institution. So they have this legal status also. It's not depending on voluntary work or something. So they are a real status in the system. Thank you.
Yes, that is right. At least for now, I can't see further questions or further hands raised. And also, according to a timetable, this would be a good time to move on. So, Annina, I understand that you will be able to be present up until the end, which is very nice. So we thank you at this point and move on to Anu Härkönen, the head of international affairs from the Dorco University of Applied Sciences. So welcome, Anu.
Thank you, Sofia. And A very good afternoon from the southwest Finland, Turku, the old capital of Finland, and very happy to be invited here. Before I will start my presentation and tell about the experiences of the PINNET network. I would also like to emphasize the role of the student unions and how it's organized at institutions of higher education in Finland. So basically just repeating what Kenneth, Sofia, and Annina said, that, for example, at my university, our rector meets the student association representatives and student union representatives, I think at least every month, if not like bi-weekly. And they have a representation at our university board and most work groups and teams. So like Annina was giving tips, that's my tip as well, that it's always worth inviting the students to all kinds of university activities so that their voice can be heard just as much as the faculty and other staff members. But now to my presentation, I have prepared something. So I will take actually the camera away and hopefully we'll be able to start sharing the presentation. Can you see it now?
Not yet, at least for me, it's not yet visible.
Okay. Try another time. Not yet. I don't know why it's not working.
Yeah. But we also do have
Could you help me with that? Because sometimes it has some technical problems. So if you have that there, could you
Would
maybe
you
share it?
be able to share
Yes,
it?
it's coming up.
Thanks a lot. And now it is there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and Anu, if you wish, you can take over by this Ota hallinta button at the top of the screen.
Okay, so I'm in charge now.
Yes.
So thank you. Thank you. So I can see it in a very small mode. Can you see it a little bit like bigger?
It is portrayed quite nicely for us. At least for me.
Yeah, for me, it's very tiny, like a stamp. I'm sorry, I'm taking a little bit of time here now, but I'm just trying to make it bigger for myself.
No worries.
To be honest, I don't know how to make it bigger because it's very, very small in my.
The other option is that we take over the presentation, then it's also bigger for you.
Yeah, maybe you do that because I think there's something going on with my teams. Yeah. Okay, but yeah, let's start, and I hope you still all have energy for the. I think this might be probably the last PowerPoint presentation of the day, so I hope you still have energy to follow up. So my name is Anu Härkönen, and I work as head of international affairs at Turku University of Applied Sciences. But in this internationalization forum, I have been representing the PINNET network. And very happy to tell you a little bit about our reflections about both the first and second forums. And maybe you can go to the next slide. So just very briefly about the PINNET network. It's started as a project actually in 2004 and was funded by a Finnish Ministry of Education and Culture. Nobody remembers anymore what PINNET was standing for. It's an abbreviation, but today the idea is that we bring together all the senior international relations officers. So basically international relations managers, heads of international affairs. Sometimes we even might have directors of international offices or deans that are responsible for internationalization. So altogether we have 24 universities of applied sciences involved. That's basically all the universities of applied sciences in Finland, and most universities have at least one, or I mean, might have two members. So it's quite a lot of colleagues and plenty of peer support that you get through this network. And we have regular meetings, maybe 4 times a year. and a network mailing list that is very active. If you ask a question from your colleague, you get probably plenty of answers within a couple of hours. And we also have this kind of Teams environment, so we can gather information there. And we have chairperson that is rotated annually. The reason why I was involved in the first forum was that because I was the chair that year, 2018, but that changes every year. And yeah, it's something that we have thought that it's good that we don't keep somebody for 5 years or something like that. And we participate actively in national discussions and dialogues on internationalization of higher education with all kinds of relevant stakeholders. Network is not unique as such. Also, the universities have similar network called Aivorihi, and yeah, it's I think something that that we are very proud that even though the project ended already in 2004, we are still like involved in many different how to say, different bodies, like for example the Finnish Rectors Council for Finnish Universities of Applied Sciences, Arene. We are closely working with them, and of course now with this Internationalization Forum as well. Okay, maybe the next slide. Thank you. So yeah, we have had representatives in both forums. So the first one, of course, was running from 2018 till 2019, and then this new ongoing forum. I think the executive committee is actually called steering committee. I was listening to Teemu Kokko's presentation in the morning, so that means the steering committee. But Finland has always had a representative there, and also in the subgroups in both forums. So that's something that we are very happy about, and we have tried to share this information through our different channels, like the mailing list and also the Teams network. So everybody who has been interested in joining the Internationalization Forum, and especially the subgroups, we have tried to keep the door open. And especially now during the second forum, there are more and more Finland members involved. Okay, and the next one, please. So looking back a little bit at the first forum, when the forum was founded, we were very happy in the Finland network that we finally had this kind of forum where we could discuss and share our thoughts, and this was, of course, this happened after the policies to promote internationalization in Finnish higher education and research. They were published in 2017, and we had been waiting for this kind of document for a couple of years because maybe you heard already yesterday or today, but the previous internationalization strategy for Finnish higher education and research, that was from 2009 until 2015. So there was a little bit of a gap of 2 years then when we didn't have like official document that would focus on internationalization in higher education and research in Finland. And first the policies were published, and then after that this kind of internationalization forum was founded. So yeah, basically we were very, very enthusiastic about this thing, and also it was very nice to and of course important to start mingling with other stakeholders. So getting to know also, for example, from the Universities of Applied Sciences perspective, to get to know research institute representatives. Finland is quite a small country, and we know quite well our colleagues from other universities and Universities of Applied Sciences who work in the same field with internationalization, but then to have also the ministries involved more, not just the Ministry of Education and Culture, and also these research institutes, and so it was very refreshing to kind of get also outside a little bit our own circles. In Finland, many of us have been working also in this field for quite some time, and yeah, it's sometimes you things come too familiar, and we all kind of sing in the same choir. So that was very nice that we were able to get fresh ideas. Okay, the next slide, please. Yeah, then like what has been already said earlier in the previous presentations, this Internationalization Forum is a network of networks. So that means that there are a lot of actors and different kinds of interests, discussions on what to prioritize and what to focus. Like Annina said, there are plenty of goals regarding internationalization. And also in the first forum, especially, I think there was a little bit of like challenges on how to communicate among the subgroups and all the network members. It was a pilot, so basically like we were testing how to work together. Also, we wanted to have practitioners or professionals and researchers in the team or the forum, which is of course very good to get different perspectives and so not everybody is totally on like-minded, that you have like good discussions. But of course that also means that some of the first forum members were much more interested in conceptualization work of internationalization, which is a very abstract concept. And then some of the members who really work in the international office, and in Finnish we say have their hands in the mud, so basically tackle very concrete matters and in their work. So there was a little bit of maybe discussion on what is important and what should be discussed and where should we have the focus. I'm not saying that this isn't a good thing, it was actually very good, but it also took a lot of time, especially in some of the work groups. And like what Teemu Kokko said in the morning, the language barriers were of course also something that we faced in the first forum and also now in the second one. I mean, how to engage non-Finnish speaking members, which were of course a minority in the forum, but who we wanted to get engaged and hear their points of view, of course. So how to do that in practice, another issue. There was also this kind of a bit of a lack of connection to some other work that was being carried out on internationalization of higher education in Finland. There were other work groups and these kind of teams that were working on, for example, the rectors of the universities were working on the vision 2030 for higher education. There were some surveys and reports that kind of popped up during the first forum and the subgroups were not aware of them. So sometimes, yeah, it was a bit difficult to get the big picture. And then, of course, the big question was the incentive for higher educations to basically take our work seriously. So we did the recommendations and planned them, and the question was that where is the link to the funding model of the universities? So there was some confusion, but it was, I think, good confusion. So nothing to be afraid of, and also confusion usually creates a lot of discussion. So I think that was very important for the first forum as well. Then the next slide. So all in all, collaboration with the ministry and the other network members. I mean, it was a very positive experience. We tried to find solutions together. I mean, we all had quite similar challenges, but also different perspectives. So I think in the PINET we were discussing that it was very meaningful and important work that we did together, and like Annina said, finally we had a forum where to discuss and brainstorm these ideas together, and also to get peer support from like-minded, because at universities when you work, not everybody is always agreeing with you. I mean, in terms of the goals of internationalization. But yeah, like I said, there were some hiccups as well, and some room for improvement in terms of working methods and outcomes. Then the next slide, please. I'm looking at the time as well. It's running really quickly. So now looking at the second forum, the current one, I think the work has started much more systematically. And there's a clear agenda and meeting work schedules planned for the whole forum already from the beginning, which is very good. And the subgroup topics are much more narrow, and it's easier to tackle these questions and work with them, because in the first forum they were maybe a bit too broad and vague. And it's really good also that now we have more like external participants also in the forum, not just the forum members who are officially nominated for the forum. And yeah, like Sophia said earlier, sometimes it's actually has been easier to communicate and arrange meetings thanks to the COVID-19 situation. So there's a silver lining for the pandemic as well, because during the first forum, sometimes it was really, really difficult to find meeting times that would fit everybody's calendars. But now when everything is online and after the meetings, you can also upload materials in Teams or in Housepace, these kind of online working environments. Somehow it has become easier as well to reach out for all the forum members and the subgroup members. Okay, and yeah, like I said, more engaging as well. I mean, we have more participants from outside the forum, and yeah, there's a lot of more communication as well. To be honest, I'm not sure if there's really a strategy in terms of the communication and dissemination work, but now there have been more block entries, and the forum subgroups also introduced their work during the spring forum for Finnish international educators in May. So now the word is spreading also, not just through the forum members to their own networks, but also otherwise. Yeah, and then some challenges still remain. So there's the question of language barrier, how to engage the non-Finnish speakers, and also how to get some kind of consensus from all these kind of different types of participants, like researchers and back practitioners, that we could sit at the same table and really tackle some of the issues together, and not like in different kinds of forums or subgroups. But there's still a lot of time left to find solutions, so I'm quite confident that we will find some kind of answers by 2023, when the forum work will kind of end for the second forum. Okay, the next one, and then just as a final thought, the value of the forum from the PNET perspective, of course, a very valuable forum for discussion for different stakeholders. Cannot maybe overemphasize that. And also that this kind of this work, and especially that somebody's actually following up the implementation of the policies, it's also giving a lot of this kind of support for the grassroots level that we do at universities. That it's not just employees who work, I mean the managers, but also like international relations officers and planners and coordinators who work with internationalization. They feel that their work is valued, and this forum kind of gives also support for everybody, not just the heads of the international affairs, but for all, also those who work at the operational level. So yeah, I think the PNET network on behalf, of course, I can't speak for over 20 people on their behalf, but I think that everybody's thankful that this kind of forum has been founded. Okay, and I think the last slide was just to thank you. Unfortunately, I don't speak Georgian either, but at least there's a thank you in your own language, and would like to say kiitos, and very happy to answer any questions or comments you may have. I know that I have taken quite a lot of time, but if you have any questions, I would be happy to answer.
Thanks a lot, Anu, for your interesting presentation, and definitely we do have time for a few questions. So I'm inviting our guests to present any questions or share some thoughts that you may have based on Anu's presentation.
I spoke very quickly, but I was kind of rushing with the clock so that we would have time for some discussion as well.
And Liika, at least.
No, I expect actually questions to come from my colleagues, but if not, let me, I mean, first of all, thank you very much. This was very, very interesting. I mean, do you really need this kind of formal network to cooperate with your colleagues? Because you mentioned several times that Finland is not a big country, you know each other. I think this kind of forums may end at a certain point, but there could be some other issues always emerging. So do you really need this kind of formal framework for cooperation, or it is possible just to come up with other ideas and share? I mean, I'm talking about this working conditions, let's say.
So you mean the SPINNET network? So
Yes.
the network for the University of Applied Sciences. I think definitely we need. I mean, it's peer support, and of course it's something that you can also do. I mean, we meet regularly. We might have like training for us. It's also that when you have a network, you can also make official statements as a network. So you can, and that is actually what happens all the time, that the Finnish Rectors Council for Universities of Applied Sciences, they contact the PINNET, usually the chairman, and ask for the opinion of the PINNET network, or the Ministry of Education might ask our opinion, and not just us, but also, for example, the similar network of the universities, that they have this Aivorihi. So definitely it makes it more formal, but yeah, the network in itself, the communication and collaboration is very informal because we know each other very well. But then when we make these statements, then it's on behalf of all of us, and I think it's very good to have this kind of somebody like a chair that you, like, for example, the Rectors Council can contact and ask for the opinion, and then we work together. If we would be just loosely connected with each other, of course, we could get peer support and meet each other from time to time, but now it's more organized, and I highly recommend that for Georgian universities as well.
Yes, and maybe to add something, I think, of course, PINNET network, for example, has a really long history. So where we are currently is that it has a status in the field of higher education. So that is also probably important. And then also in any national kind of work, it crossed my mind that, for example, when organizing the annual national conference for international affairs on higher education, it's quite easy to get organized when we have this kind of organized groups. For example, this year we then consulted both similar networks from the Universities of Applied Sciences and Science Universities, and both sent their representatives, and it was then quite easy and natural to plan the event together with these important networks, just as one example. But
and we are also planning like some international collaboration now. Due to the COVID-19 situation, it has been a little bit put on hold, but we have been in touch with at least 5 different European countries where they have similar networks for universities of applied sciences, and this kind of our sister networks basically. And yeah, I don't know what the future will hold, but we are planning some collaboration with our international colleagues as well.
Yeah, Anu, there is one question in the chat by Tamar. It goes that, what are the main incentives for stakeholder involvements you are addressing?
Sorry, I maybe I need a bit of a clarification. I mean,
I was actually thinking the same, that perhaps, Tamar, would you mind clarifying a little bit the question, and then it's easier for Anu to answer. Just by opening the mic and elaborating.
Just maybe, elaborating a little bit, like because I'm not sure if I understand the question. So maybe
Is it in the context of the international forum, perhaps, or something else? Or is Tamar with us? Perhaps not.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm not quite sure how to answer this question, but for us, I mean, as a PINNET network, maybe Sofia, you can answer on behalf of the Internationalization Forum, but for I think for all Finnish universities and university of applied sciences, the stakeholder work is very important. We have this kind of well, societal engagement in general is one of the basic tasks of higher education institutions, and yeah, we are not just in contact with other like educational organizations, but also companies and city where we are located, and yeah, it's very, I think, wide network of stakeholders that we are in contact all the time.
Yeah, and maybe. Oh yeah, Lika, you may.
Since you mentioned cities and municipalities, I mean, it maybe doesn't has a direct connection to the topic we are discussing right now, but could you elaborate more? What are specific cooperation examples between your university and municipality? Because right now we are actually running a couple of Erasmus Plus projects which are especially emphasizing, let's say, the third mission of universities and also role of universities in the regional development. So that would be interesting, a bit, couple of examples, so how you cooperate with local governments.
Well, in Turku, where my university is located, for example, one of the examples would be this kind of network or project called Study and Stay in Turku. So the city of Turku and all the institutions of higher education in Turku work together in order to attract international students and smooth their arrival and stay here in the city. And also, I mean, we do our best so that they could also stay in Turku after their studies and graduation. So this means that we have, it's coordinated by somebody at the city of Turku, and we organize events, for example, career events and career advising for international students. And also, yeah, it has its own website where we collect information, and that is something that we work very closely together with the city and of course the other institutions of higher education. So that is something very much related to internationalization. But then of course there are some other things as well. And like Pipa Turvanen, who is actually my dear colleague who used to live in Turku, but now has moved to to the capital region. So of course she mentioned this talent boost. So all the cities in Finland, most university towns participate in this talent boost activities. I don't know, Sofia, if you want to say something more about that or the Internationalization Forum.
I was about to, but there is now a clarification from Tamar that it was a general question. So perhaps I'm not taking time on reflecting the stakeholder aspect when it comes to the International Forum, unless, or maybe I could just shortly say that perhaps something that makes it slightly different from other stakeholder involvements, projects or processes or work is that in the context of the strategy and the policies that are now valid and ongoing, it really creates a systematic way on tackle the identified kind of key aspects and points that need to be taken further. And in the forum, there is now a systematic way on making all the stakeholders involved in the process and clearly kind of bringing their expertise and points of view on advancing certain things. So maybe the clear connection to the policies and bringing forward the implementation is one point of view. But now, yes, I believe we have pretty much used our time, but I would still like to say that if there is an urgent question to Anu, it's the most important part, nevertheless, in our workshop has been these question and answer session, and there actually is one. So let's take one final question. Let me see. It's from Nino. Goes, do you have established universities of Finland? strategic group for internationalization issues, or maybe network. Are there nearly all university heads of international relations departments involved? I believe, I don't know, Anu, you want to start off? I'm also wondering a little bit if I get it right, but perhaps if you have...
Yes, well, we have this PINNET network, and then we have the Ivory network. So the members are usually heads of international affairs from universities or universities of applied sciences. And then the Rectors Council, there's Unifi and Arene in Finland. They have also their, I would say, maybe work groups that focus on internationalization. And at the end of the day, of course, it's mostly, I mean, the rectors or the presidents of universities and universities of applied sciences who are leading or responsible for the strategies. So they also have their say. So I think it's a work that we do together. And I think this internationalization forum is one way to bring all these different actors together. But yeah, I don't know, Sofia, how would you?
Yeah, I think
what would you like to add it?
Yeah, I think you summed it up pretty nicely. And as an example, I think, for example, Teemu Kakko, the president and CEO of Haaga-Helia University, that whom you met this morning. So Teemu Kakko was the representative of the Rectors Conference. And for example, the Rectors Conference, Arene, as Anu said, has a special committee for international affairs. And that's how these international issues are even have kind of a special floor within these networks of rectors also.
But in general, in Finland, the universities and universities of applied sciences are autonomous. So in that sense, there's a lot of independence in way they want to kind of develop their actions related to internationalization. So these are much more like discussion forums, and there's the Ministry of Education doesn't really say that this is what you have to do, because the universities and universities of applied sciences are independent. And they make the decisions themselves. Of course, there's guidance through the funding models and so, but
yeah, this was actually, I think, a very good good statement to close our workshop session, as even though there are these policies and guidelines, it is really important to keep in mind that the universities have autonomy, and that brings a very important flavor to everything that is being done. Yes, so thank you, Anu, for being in this session.
Thank you. Very nice to be with you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very interesting to hear from you, and thank you also for your very thorough presentation. I think it really, really nicely kind of highlighted the important aspects and issues on the work of the forum, and also very many useful kind of general points of view throughout the presentation as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you for inviting me. Very happy to. Have never been to Georgia, but have visited some restaurants and tasted the wine. So maybe that's after the COVID-19 on my bucket list then.
Please do come. We are good hosts. But let us know in advance that you are coming. So
I will. Thank you for everybody, for the questions and for the comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Anu. And so now I think time has passed really, really quickly yesterday and today. It has been such an interesting journey with you, and to learn from your questions, and also for us to learn from the presentation. There is also always something new, even if you think that you kind of know everything, but that is never the case, and that's good to bear in mind, I suppose. But what comes to the program of yesterday and today, so the attempt that we have had in the planning, both by EduFi colleagues, the colleagues from the Ministry of Education and Culture, and also Liika Klonti, who was involved when we were thinking that what kind of a program would be useful. We were attempting to portray this picture of Finnish higher education, both when it comes to internationalization, but also other aspects. And therefore we started off yesterday with these general presentations on higher education, on its steering and funding systems, and then moving on to portraying this content and also implementation when it comes to the strategy, comes to the policies for internationalization of higher education and research in Finland. And today we could hear very many different aspects on stakeholder involvement in the follow-up work of the policies that is very much taking part in the international forum, as you by far very well know, I assume. And it was for us an interesting exercise to first of all think that what kind of topics should be addressed in this kind of a context, and we haven't really thought of neither by us at Edufi or even with Liika of any formal way of collecting feedback on the workshop, but we are very much welcoming you to share your thoughts also on if you saw any points where improvement should take place, and also if there's any information that you find afterwards that should have been added, then as said, we are very, very happy to find more information for you and then send it via Liika. So that would be from our part. It was such a pleasure. We enjoyed your very active participation. So it was really a relaxed and interesting workshop, I would say. But Liika, would you want to say a few words as well?
Definitely, yes. I mean, I have to start with thanking you again and express my gratitude, because we are not spoiled with this type of webinars which are organized for free and which have gathered this top decision makers at governmental level, from university level, students. So it was a very comprehensive package of information we got now, and as I mentioned previously, we will need time to digest all this information again. So I'm really very, very thankful, and I do hope that we will chance to express our gratitude once you manage to come to Georgia, because our doors are open to you, and once this madness with COVID ends, hopefully soon, I really hope to have the opportunity to host you here in Tbilisi. I have also to thank Georgian participants who were very active, actually, and I have to say that we have many separate chats also, and in parallel I was checking all the messages. So the feedback is extremely positive. At the same time, many of them are excusing that they were not able to attend all the presentations and will rely heavily on the recordings later. Again, some technical announcements. So once we have all the presentations, they will be uploaded on our website and on our social media, and you will have a chance to follow these presentations and the video and recording once again. I'm very glad that we have here the core team of experts who will be developing recommendations about the internationalization of higher education and research. And I will actually report back to my Finnish colleagues by the end of August, beginning of September, and just update you about our current developments or how our recommendations will look like, because of course we are not going to copy paste Finnish experience. Countries are too different and academic culture is too different, and our approaches to internationalization are also different, because currently in Georgia we are actually considering international aspects of higher education and research as instrument to enhance quality of higher education and research. So attracting international staff and students and retaining them in Georgia is not the top priority. It's one of the priorities actually, and we are trying to attract as many international students as possible, also for financial reasons, not only for demographic reasons, but actually the top priority for Georgia is quality enhancement. And we are considering international cooperation as a key instrument for it. So that will be hopefully reflected in our own strategy, but your experience was very, very, very helpful. And I think it's also interesting, not only, let's say, at the national level, but I think universities also got a lot of interesting hits and recommendations for international strategies at institutional level. And I see now the short messages, thank you messages. So that was really very useful. So I don't know how else I can thank you for it, but I know how much work is behind it. So you, Kenneth and Sini, so bringing all these people together, communicating with them, making the agenda. I understand what it means, and I'm really very, very grateful. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Lika, and thank you also colleagues, Sini and Kenneth, really, as mentioned in the beginning, where with Lika, the kind of, I think these three people here, kind of the main brain behind this workshop. So all of you deserve a warm thank you. And but so does each one in the audience. It's always a pleasure when there is such an active participation. It really brings these issues alive in a very, very fruitful way. And perhaps as to conclude, I realized that on our behalf, we did not welcome you to Finland after the pandemic. So definitely this is important as well. So when it becomes possible, we are also, of course, welcoming you to Finland to see in present and in person how things are being done, and we are very happy to meet you face to face when it's possible. So let's hope that this will be
come. So I mean, let's move in both directions. So once this madness is. Thank you very much. I mean, I'm really very, very grateful. And as I mentioned, I will report back to you by the end of summer with our progress. I don't think it could be very interesting for you, but I just want to show you the result of this webinar also too, which will be definitely reflected in our work too. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And we are really looking
looking for your interest, and let's go to work. So we have homework to do.
Indeed, this was just purely pleasure.
Yeah, really to do something. Yes.
Thank you, everyone, and goodbye.
Ciao.
Thank you so much.
Very much. So that was really very good job done. Very good job. Thank you.